Here with reaction to all of tonight's big breaking news is Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Senator, I remember that incident well, and I also remember another incident where it was you, your wife, and your young children confronted by a mob. I've had my own instances. I don't talk about it. It's not fun at all. Tell us about it.
Well, listen, the left is angry, and the rhetoric that comes from their political leaders, from their radical extreme, is getting more and more heightened. And the problem is what we saw early this morning with the lunatic that came to murder Justice Kavanaugh. That is a lunatic following through on the deranged rhetoric from elected Democrats. And when you see it is now becoming more and more common that leftists scream, curse, harass. As you know, Maxine Waters instructed leftists to do that. And it is deliberately inciting violence. You know, when this opinion was leaked, I believe this opinion was leaked by a left-wing law clerk who wanted precisely this to happen, who wanted the justices in the majority to be threatened, to be bullied. You saw the left encouraging protesters to go to the justices' houses where their kids are, where their family is. And what is disgusting is this is what the Democrats have called for. As you know, Chuck Schumer stood on the Senate, on the steps of the Supreme Court, and he said, I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you. That was inciting precisely this kind of threat. And just as bad, Jen Psaki from the White House, when asked about the potentially violent protesters at the home of the justices, here's what she said. She said, quote, and we certainly continue to encourage that outside the judges' homes, and that's the president's position. Now, it is a crime. It is a felony to protest outside a judge's home while a judge is considering a case. You have the White House, you have Joe Biden's White House urging people to commit felonies, and we're seeing the fruits, the effect of their rhetoric, and it's dangerous.
Yeah. So tomorrow we got this, Hollywood production, January 6th committee. They will withhold critical information from the American public, the information we have confirmed and corroborated, and people that gave testimony to that committee that, in fact, Donald Trump signed off on up to 20,000 guard troops to be called up if, in fact, Nancy Pelosi or Muriel Bowser needed them. They decided not to do that. It was outside of the president's purview at that point. He did what he was legally required to do. He can't do any more. Here's the question. These very same members on this committee that are going to be lecturing America with a phony Hollywood narrative, with all the license to lie and omit key important facts, silent on doxing, silent on the riots, the 574 of them in the summer of 2020, or they gave their approval. Like Kamala Harris, they're not going to stop. They shouldn't stop. They won't stop. We're not going to stop, if you remember. Or tweeting out a link to contribute to a bail fund for the people that are rioting. So what does that tell us about the Democratic Party? They only care about, what, one riot if they can politicize it, and the hell with the riots that killed dozens of Americans and injured thousands of cops?
The radical left hates their political opponents, and they condone violence as a means of getting what they want. And you're right, in the Antifa and Black Lives Matter riots, you saw Democrat after Democrat excuse it. You remember the Summer of Love? That was one of the euphemisms to cover up the Chaz and the Chad, and there were murders and rapes, and that was just the Summer of Love in their view.
Mostly peaceful, Senator. Mostly peaceful.
While CNN, while the building burned behind them, and the media celebrates it, the Democrats celebrate it, and they embrace the use of violence for their political ends. It is fundamentally wrong, but in particular with regard to the Supreme Court, it's not just the use of violence. It's destroying the institutions of our democracy and the Constitution. This threat, politicians unleashing violent threats on Supreme Court justices, is designed to tear down the Supreme Court, to tear down the independence of our judiciary, and fundamentally to tear down our Constitution and our Bill of Rights. That's what Schumer and Biden want. They know what they're doing, and even now, they're not stopping. Even now, they're not condemning. They're not telling their supporters to go home. By the way, all the people who self-righteously said that Donald Trump should have told people to go home on January 6th, well, Chuck Schumer and Joe Biden need to stand up and tell the protesters outside the Justice's home, go home, and Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, needs to show up and arrest them because they're violating federal law.
All right, Senator Ted Cruz, thank you for being with us.